Namaste, Galaxy Seeds, and welcome back to my channel, IndigoAngel. Welcome if you are new to my channel, and if you are returning, don't forget to put a like on this video as you come on in the room, and hit the notifications bell to continue to receive my messages. And I love you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate all your love and support. I do have a galactic energy update for you guys today. And a lot is going down on the planet right now in terms of all of the 5G biowarfare and the cost upon the genetics of the races and human cosmic contemporary existence and the totality of the cosmic war races for dominion and Stargate strongholds according to geographic location, which I'm going to go into today a lot in this video, and pole shift realities. And so I'm going to get into all of this in detail. I'm going to pull up my map, my scribbles map, as I have charted quite a bit for you guys to see. I'm going to pull it up in just a second. But yeah, so I'm really excited to bring forth this information today. I have been working really hard on this message for you guys. I think you're going to find it just, overall beneficial to the ultimate, understanding of the bigger picture in terms of the dominions that are playing out on the planet. So I'm going to go over what I've been attuning to, essentially, which I'm going to just simply put a disclaimer on this video. A lot that I talk about is at the thick of the controversy on the planet, as many of you know. And, particularly because I am going to be going into the thick of Draco and Nibiru Anunnaki, so heads up on that. I just want to say, listen at your own discretion. Also, as a collective, we are going through major 3D reality field collapses at this time. So I am going to do my best to be gentle with the expression today. I am very conscious of the heightened collective fear and anxiety at this time. So I am definitely not wanting to add to this. But I do want to keep my Galaxy Seed family informed up on the intel that I'm receiving. And I know that many of you are really invested on a very quantified, detailed level of this knowledge. And so I just want to keep you all, where I'm at. I want to keep you all informed. And also, again, disclaimer to anyone who's new to my channel, I like to just say, that nothing that I talk about can technically really be proved or disproved. And because of that, everything is true and not at the same time. Therefore, this is all about a resonance of truth, and it's all about your free will and, your open mind, your open heart. Always you have a choice to decide and discern what you wish to allow in these cosmic reality fields. So I just want to throw that out there. Having that said, I'm going to leave links in the description for you to vet out some of this information yourself. Ultimately, that's what I think we're all doing. We're taking pieces of information from lots of different pots, from lots of different collective pots, and we're vetting out the information. We're deciding what resonates. We all should be doing this. This is the time of information. This is the time of knowledge. There's no reason that anybody cannot quickly get up to speed on what's going on in terms of cosmic intelligence and how we relate to that. So like I said, I'll leave some links in the descriptions for you to vet out some of this information yourself if you would like. And I'm going to get into my energy update. So now, a couple of updates ago, I had mentioned the planetary blockage at Stargate 11, which is the Lyran gate, which is also at Stonehenge. So I'm going to go ahead and flip over to my map and everything that I've charted for you guys to see, because this is going to coincide the energy update today. Share my screen with y'all. Get y'all in here. Okay, so my little face should be up in the corner here, and you should be able to see my map. So I have started charting everything that I'm receiving in terms of information, in terms of Stargate locations, in terms of seeding routes, in terms of energetic ley lines, in terms of inner Earth intersection points, in terms of the crystal grids, in terms of the deodatic points and chakras of the planet. I've begun charting my own system just because I feel it has allowed me to have more freedom of expression in terms of what's coming in. And so I've been using scribblemaps.com. If anybody wants to do the same, I highly recommend it. It's been super fun for me to chart this stuff and have, you know, a reference point in terms of being able to, you know, send this to other people in a format of a PDF, all of these things. So, you know, it's really cool. So shout out to scribblesmaps.com. You can check them out. I think it's like $20 a month to use their mapping. And if you are a cartographer, or if you're into geography in terms of planetary consciousness, I highly recommend it because it literally lays it all out for you so you can see it as one body, as your body, because it's all interconnected in terms of our biology and then in terms of the planetary geography. It's one and the same. And it's going to tune you more into being able to have those revelations in terms of what's happening in Stargate locations and just geographically within the planet. So it's one way to be a grid worker if you can't travel, because I don't really have the means to travel. I am a single mom. And so this is how I do it. I bilocate in terms of what I'm seeing and experience, and then run grid scans as well. So that's another thing that you can work on in terms of your psychic consciousness and consciousness development. You can do things like bilocate, teleport, and you know, grid scan the structures in terms of your internal perception, in terms of your astral awareness, which would be heightened under the removal of the Zeta seal, which is placed right at the center of the vertical ascension column, right at the heart, but not over the heart. This seal, it's also a planetary seal, prevents people from being able to use a lot of these gifts and abilities. But I know many of you are already just really advanced in terms of your energy work, and that's another reason why you tune into my channel, is because it's in alignment with that. So thank you so much. Love you guys. And I'm just going off on a tangent here. But ultimately, what I wanted to talk to you guys about today is, now a couple of updates ago, I had mentioned the planetary blockage at Stargate 11. So the Lyran gate, which is also Stonehenge. Now Stonehenge is at 51.1789 degrees north and 1.8262 degrees west, longe and lat. So this is also called the Vale of Pewsey, which I did not realize that these were like one and the same. When I pulled up the longe and lat of both Stonehenge and Vale of Pewsey, they had the same longe and lat. And you can see here on my chart that if I, you know, hover over Stonehenge, that if I go to what I chart as Vale of Pewsey, it's technically the same location. So this is Stargate 11. This is the Lyran Stargate in terms of this greater inner networking system of these Nibiruian crystal temples. So I did chart them as two separate locations, and then kind of came to the realization, actually right before I started filming right now, is that they are in fact one and the same. Or they would be like an extension that encompasses all of the surrounding area. Now, Stonehenge was built on special geometry that interconnects to the Nibiru deodatic crystal network. And deodatic means simply that these are soft areas in the planet where there's a lot more quantum flow and a lot more just energetic interaction in terms of planetary quantum, planetary flow. So you can think of Stonehenge kind of like a communicating generator to all of the Nibiruian networks. Like Stonehenge is like the capital, and Stonehenge hands out all of the orders in terms of the Nibiruian network. So this map that I drew up for you guys and charted today, all of these locations on here are the Nibiruian crystal temples. And they represent the underground network in terms of underground bunkers and underwater bunkers that ultimately the elite are residing in terms of control systems. And now we have these locations biologically as well. So, you know, if you are a Reiki healer, you would intuitively know about these, whether you knew about the actual planetary locations or not. You're going to feel them within the body. Just intuitively, you're going to be called to these locations because they are upholding, you know, positive agendas and also negative agendas in terms of the biology. So these are areas that could get blocked in terms of energy flow and quantum flow. These are also areas that we would focus on for additional healing. These uphold the wounded areas of the body, right? This is where distortions and all of this energy can get blocked. They are also simultaneous to the 24-pointed staff locations in the body too. So energy centers that may have recently opened up for many. The majority of the spiritual collective is operating upon the 7th dimensional chakra system. They have yet to retract back to the base level of the light body, which is the 12-tree grid, and this holds the template for the 12-strand DNA. Okay, so many might be awakened and activated to this, but they've yet to visually or holographically experience these morphogenetic structures inside of their body. So this is awakening more and more within the collective. Some are within the 7th dimensional perception, some are within the 12th dimensional perception, but many are moving on to the 24 pointed perception or the 24 pointed staff locations in the body. The energy centers that probably have opened up for about, I would say, at least 25% of crystal rainbows, indigos that are dialed in planetarily. This actually came through Arcturian activations at Lake Titicaca. Lake Titicaca also is a location for the Nibiruian crystal temples as well. But this Lake Titicaca did bring through the planetary staff, and this activation makes horizontal and upside down movement possible in your energy field within your own transharmonic pillar and your polar pillar anchoring in your magnetic field. Okay, so these are technically like cosmic preparations for reality experiences for pole tilt shift to take place. So believe it or not, there are preparations that go into pole tilt shift. Our galactic family, our galactic guardians, our galactic heritage, the totality of the universal consciousness isn't just going to up and leave us high and dry. There are preparational phases for things that we adapt to. We adapt to the evolution. We adapt to this in terms of photonic energy and in terms of radiation. This is what is, pushing the collective and many species through a bottleneck like adaptive radiation process where these shifts are taking place, and it's preparing us for what's going to happen. This is why we get so much prophetic revelation. This is why we get so much cataclysmic probabilities that unfold within our knowing. Some of them don't ever generate any quantum or any electricity in terms of manifestation, but they do exist within multiple multidimensional reality fields on the planet, and so we are accessing them at all times, particularly for most within the conscious lucid dream and within the astral expression, within meditation and those things. But essentially, we are being prepared for what's going to happen. You are not going to be left high and dry. This comes from an extension of the Laniakea being that I feel that I'm in communication with at this point now. I do feel that I'm communicating with an angelic, beautiful being from the Laniakea nations that is guiding me in terms of a lot of this information. So this is where I'm channeling this from. And I know to all the KS community people, channeling is a no word, but you know what? It's relative. It's relative in terms of what it means. So yes, we could be electronically data streaming, directly just imprinting this information, but essentially it's a form of channeling. And shoot me if I use the word whatever. I really just don't care anymore. So I'm going to use the word. And But basically, these 24 points in the body, they are also comprised of the 24 main planetary locations of the Nibiruian crystal bases, alongside the Stargate nations who stronghold these locations planetarily. So it's very mixed in its polar expression, of course, right? We have negative agendas, we have malevolent agendas, we have benevolent agendas. This is all interconnected. They're all strong holding these locations because they are the planetary meiotic points on the planet. So they're going to be the most energetically connected to one another. And this deeply highlights, really, ultimately, the struggle over planetary energy vortex systems within several domains, within several density fields. And this extends upon the 12 dimensions of physical reality. And several reality fields within each dimension or each density structure inside of the planet. So you can see all of these locations here on my map, and I have them all charted here. You can see Stonehenge being the most northern location, so it's like a beacon that's planted at the most northern location, and then it extends down to all of the other locations. And these locations would be, okay, so I'm just going to run through them with you guys. Now, I didn't really chart them in order, but we have Kauai, Hawaii. This is considered a 12th density Stargate location. This location also transmits to Laniakea, so in terms of super colossal galactic ascendancy, we're transmitting from Kauai, Hawaii to Laniakea. Then it goes to Vale of Pewsey, which is the 11th Stargate. So this is what this update is essentially about, is the 11th Stargate and how these blockages energetically and how the war on an etheric spiritual level is playing out within this Stargate. And then we have Abadan, Iran. We have Pakistan. We have the Bermuda Triangle. This is an underwater crystal network. We have Stonehenge, again, one and the same as Vale of Pewsey. Sarasota, Florida. Machu Picchu, Portugal. Lake Titicaca. This is also underwater crystal temple. We have Giza, Egypt. We have the South Pole. The South Pole is is a very, very important one as well. This one connects directly through a vertical ley line to Stonehenge and to Vale of Pewsey. It's a direct shoot, and this is one of the power structures in terms of densities and how it upholds. So Antarctica is one of the major, it's considered first density initiator or like a pro-generating ley line. So a lot is being generated from this location, and it's the source of the bioweaponization as they are mining bacteria from Antarctica to then develop these biowarfare viruses and mutations. And then we have Mauritania, Africa, Paxi, Greece, Aguas Calientes, Mexico. We have Cyprus. Easter Islands, Vatican City, Johannesburg, Africa, Brazil. This one is considered Lop Nord, Tibet, but it's also Ru Quang County. And I know that I'm slaughtering these names, so sorry, guys. But essentially, this one is between two deserts. And I believe this is an underwater one. It's in an actual lake between the Taklamakan and another desert that's close to the Taklamakan. And then we have, of course, Zion, China, super major Orion Stargate, also a Nibiruian crystal temple. We have Hamadan province in Iran, Basra, Iraq, and the Bosnian pyramids, Pyramid of the Sun. Okay, so these would be the 24 pointed locations where all of the Nibiruian crystal bunkers and underwater bunkers or underwater control centers are located. Now, these are all within the 30-degree north horizontal ley line and the 30-degree south horizontal ley line. These are the hotspots for planetary dominion, but mostly in the northern region where patriarchal Templars hold the majority of these networks in place. So you can see most of them are above the equator, the equatorial plane. And I've gone over this in other videos, how the northern part of the planet is the masculine dominated portion of the planet, and the southern is the feminine. And so this is another reason for that dominion, for planetary dominion. These Nibiruian crystal bunkers, these are where the 13 bloodlines or the League of the 300 intend to physically invade the inner Earth. These Nibiruian crystal bunkers are where they physically enter inner Earth. Along with several other, lineages. So it's not just the 13 bloodlines, but these are going to extend into other lineages depending upon how much of the lineages you hold, how close you are to the kin, how close you are to this network, and others avoiding this calamity. So the families avoiding the calamity, they're all going to also be entering through these bunkers through inner Earth. All of these sites are a mixture of Draco and Anunnaki hybrid line family extensions, which do equate to and encompass all of the Aryan race sequence identity in one percentage or another post the fall of the Atlantis, the Luciferian rebellion, and the Atlantean Holocaust, or the separation of continental formation. So I have recently felt that Lemuria was initiated on Pangaea because it represented wholeness of the mother. And then as these continents separated, this was a part of the fall, continental consciousness. And just the more that I get into continental memory encoded in the landmass consciousness in terms of universal continental old equator codes, which is what Lemuria ran off of, I can see this more and more. So I'm also going to say that all of the underground tunnels in DIA as well. So if you look at, I must have had Denver. Okay, so Denver as well. Now, so I'm from Denver. So what up, Denver people? Hey, how's it going? Essentially, I'm going to say that the underground tunnels in DIA as well, these are a part of these underground networks as far as the Nibiruian crystal temples. And I have remote viewed these. So I've been in DIA before, and it's very encryptic how you navigate through the airport. And everything is underground in terms of how you navigate from one location to the other. The underground subway to get to your flight. So it's definitely what you can see, and you can remote view when you get in there. You can see how everything was constructed underground. So this is, I feel like I've bilocated inside of these tunnel floor plans in the airport before when I was there. So I just want to give a shout out to my friend Owen for reminding me about DIA and also for helping me with some of my graphic clips. So I just want to send you some love, Owen. Love you so much. You are the best. But these underground tunnels, this is no secret. Denver International Airport was designed for this. Also, Elon Musk, who is a Sirian Anunnaki Arcturian hybrid, he has been working with the Nibiruians to interconnect specific underground cities and bunkers in Barstow, California. And together they are creating these underground highways. So you can see Barstow, California here. Just highlight it for you guys so you can see Barstow, California. So that's where all that's going down. So yeah, Elon Musk is creating this underground highway. It will consist of 20 bunker nations, all within a 200-mile radius of each other. And then they're going to create an underground tunnel highway so that way you can drive to each one of these locations. So these are the developments of modern day Noah's Ark processes that will increase as unexplainable events begin to happen, which is why Nibiru is back in the picture. It's tied to our end of time prophecies. So just Wikipedia, Nibiru cataclysm, and any time that astrological and planetary time waves merge into collective reality fields, we portray this simulation. This has to do with the simulations running under Project Bluebeam, where the controllers project realities into the sky from 4 main satellites in the sky, one being the International Space Station. And it's to make us question our sanity through artificial thought and artificial reality, something that I feel is already happening. And so they basically project these realities into the sky from certain locations, certain satellites, from the inside of their control bunkers. And based upon, your culture, based upon your race, based upon the language that you speak, it's projected into the sky and therefore trickles down through artificial thought intelligence. And so all of these events are merging into one another. And so frequency interference is very hard to discern at this time. That's why it's going to be so important, guys, that we take time to really, really, really disconnect from our electronics. We're all highly addicted to this game. We're all highly addicted to the technology. And so it's going to be really important that we take a couple hours out of our week and leave our cell phones at home and go out to nature where you are not near cell tower or anything, and just allow your body to have a couple hours where you are not being exposed to interference. This is going to be huge to maintain our human biology as we continue to develop in this crazy unknown time of technological advancement. And so the Zetas have, they have asked the president to announce the coming of Planet X several times. So the Zetas are, wanting the politicians to come out about Planet X. I believe Ronald Reagan actually signed an executive order for Planet X, and Trump has tweeted about it before, but of course, it was all deleted. But essentially, the expansion of these underground networks will begin to heighten from the Nibiruian underground crystal network. So we have the 24 Nibiruian Stargate signet locations that are the originators that have been here for a very long time. And this network was already designed hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years ago. And this is going to extend out to 48 locations, and then it's going to double in size again, and it's going to keep extending from there until everything is underground. And this is also modern day Noah's Ark efforts. And these locations charted here are said to be the exact locations where the underground or underwater, because like I said, some are underwater. We have Bermuda and also Dubai. Dubai is underwater. Dubai has always been very fascinating to me, as I'm an Arcturian mind. I'm an Arcturian starseed. I'm also Hydra starseed, as you know. We are multidimensional starseeds. We are galaxy seeds. We encompass many galaxy inheritance, galactic inheritance. But essentially, Dubai is an Arcturian network primarily. So I'm always been very, very called to that one. Just the architecture there is extraordinary. The development of the architecture is next level. But essentially, the Illuminati are, they're possibly already in these control bunkers, and they may have been for some time now. So like I said, that would be the 13 bloodlines, the deep state, the Zionists, the Cabal, the white dragons, the white hats. They are very encryptic, right? You never see them. And why is that? Why is that? Of course, they go to these great lengths to stay under the radar by changing their names. So a lot of times you don't know it's a Rothschild, right? They changed it to something else, to Soros. I don't know. I just wanted to throw something out there. But it's believed that these kinds of special hybrids are connecting two cosmic patriarchal minds. And this is kind of what I wanted to bring up. So this may in fact be an unidentified species at this point to humanity, disguised as the Illuminati, disguised as the 13 bloodlines. Like, they're not going to really say who they are. They allow us to believe what we imagined awake, right? And why I feel this way is because they're tied together in this marriage of Polaris, of polarity. The Christ and the Antichrist bloodlines merged. And ultimately, this would be the core identity of the metagalactic core, the super union of a super patriarchal lineage created through forced breeding. And we can see this through the exposure of the polarization of international consciousness all the way up into the 12th dimension, where satanic static affects the highest of the enlightened, meaning if you're in a physical human body, period, these frequency dominions can affect you, leading us to believe that our metagalactic core is one chauvinistic bastard, right? Because if you think about it, it makes no sense. If you are aware of Anunnaki and Draco history, it makes no sense to me why draconian Illuminati would be in a Nibiruian bunker in accordance to his historical account. Now, you may not want to believe me on this, right? Like, especially if you side with Anunnaki, like, you're going to be like, what? We're not mixed with the Dracos. Or if you feel you're draconian, like, what? I'm not mixed with the Anunnaki. I'm proposing that the Anunnaki are mixed with the Draconians, but because it is known that the Anunnaki took women from Russian royalty bloodlines, which are known to be the higher counts of the Drac lineage, and they were seeking out the purest bloods on the planet, and they interbred with them, and they force interbred with them. So this family tree just got tricky. You know what I mean? But they are essentially using Nibiruian bunkers. So explain that, right? Why would draconians be in Nibiruian bunkers? This is, unless there is a legion of draconian bunkers that are even more hidden than what the Nibiruians are saying. So, and that's always possible. That's always probable too, right? But it only makes sense that the gene is now possibly mutated identity into the evolution of the sixth race, and we have just failed to identify this, or they're interbreeding into each other, there's no separation, and they are one and the same, or they just operate out of the master regulatory gene expression, which is the more dominant in the DNA sequencing. So it's this chameleon-like shifting where they can't see it within themselves. So there's this pleomorphism that's happening. Pleomorphism is where it's almost like a pre-cellular identity that shifts in accordance to its agenda. And so these are the actual identities of the viral mutations that come forward that are 10% of the human DNA sequencing identity. So that's always probable that we're accessing this portion of the identity. And also just basically operating out of the master regulatory gene expression, the more dominant in the DNA sequencing. So, and in truth, really, In truth, really, I think that we all contain both. And really, in 48 genetic grail retrieval, you would have already identified both inside of you to some degree. And that's the point of the 48 genetic grail retrieval, is to awaken to all the genetic race lines inside of you to clear the distortions for collective humanity. That's what makes us supernatural humans at this time, is our ability to heal and clear race distortions. So please see my Lyran Sirian video, Gene Brains, where I go into the expression of the master regulatory genes and how this relates to the interlinking genetic warfare playing out inside of us. Also, the adaptive radiation video that I created about the debonding of the genetics. This is an Arcturian message, so I'll leave both of these links up at the top and also in the description so you can vet out whatever you feel is your truth. But essentially, this Stargate Stonehenge is intergalactically fought over in terms of the electric wars, also in terms of the caps that are placed upon the genetics' ability to ascend and to embody their 12-strand DNA. And also it's fought over because of the first seeding of angelic humans that are now projecting parallelism or future incarnations that will take place now on 7D Earth, now in soul form, because we are evolving up the planetary harmonic pillar, which is a process of stair-stepping consciousness to the next point of transition, a post at the turning point, something that the Nibiruians know all about. The new electrical neurodevelopment within mind forming new networks for collective mind expansion, which for humans will be an existential existence and exploration that human minds are fighting against as human spirit fights in the collective battle for their planet, for Earth, right? And here is why many beings are basically being torn apart, is this rip in time that is penetrating down the polaric pole, the center point, our center point being a very polar identity. And this warfare is being fought through the Lyran collective at this time and through Stargate 11. So I've gone into a lot of videos where I talk about the Pleiadians being an infiltrated collective. I like to think I also feel that there are portions of the Arcturian collective that has been infiltrated. Not all, though, because Arcturians do ultimately come from galactic nations, a galactic ascendancy. Sirians have been infiltrated. Also, Orions, I mean, that's just a known. Also, Andromeda. So Andromeda is not going to be infiltrated in terms of draconian takeover, but possibly. I think that they actually possibly are. I think that Dracos have gone to Andromeda, but not completely. Not in the sense like Pleiadians, Sirians, portions of Arcturian, and definitely Orion have been taken over by draconian or even Anunnaki or Nibiruian. And so there are portions of Andromeda collective that I feel still hold that pure garden world potential. And also there are portions of Lyra that have not infiltrated. There are pure portions of Lyran beings that are still here. But they are highly susceptible to mutations. And so this is all playing out right now in Stargate 11. All of this is being passed on and expressed through the collective mind of the new generation. And this is coming through generational memory imprinting technologies. And unfortunately, this war on consciousness is breeding so much holographic interception that humans now combat artificial thought so much that it's really hard to grasp back any connection to organic organs and nature. You might find yourself even slipping further into technology at times, losing how much time you're spent in it. So you'll feel these time lapses take over. This happens to me as well, where I will be 3 months head in technology and I totally forget about connecting to nature. It's almost, the radiation is causing induced amnesia, where we're unable to actually pull ourselves out. And so that's why I'm saying it's very, very important right now that we're putting our cell phones down, our electronics down, and we are making really conscious efforts to hold our natural connection in place. So there's a lot of collective guilt, collective shame that's being thrusted into the new life seedings, the up and coming generations, the crystal key holders, right? The ones rising into full potential during this millennialism. So this is where we begin to honestly see some next level creator God stuff in terms of human technological advancement. And it also makes me wonder about the actual origins of planet Earth, because the development is actually going into bio-reverse engineering of other planets under the permission of the Federation of Planets. So the Federation of Planets grants this permission. And we will not colonize Mars until this is inscribed in some sort of holographic disk in terms of that permission. And this is going to give permission for warming the planet of Mars and for the colonization on Mars and for the continued development of the open AI. So family, please don't get mad at me for delivering these messages. I am definitely coherent in terms of nature, but being in solar opposition right now to Arcturus, you know this advanced technological stuff is coming through. But this in no way denotes that I personally have no compassion for our earthly mother, because I deeply do. Trust me, I shed a lot of tears and a lot of revelations that simply just make my womb just contract and ache with all of the planetary suffering at this time. So a lot of divine feminines, I know that this is just deeply ingrained in our psychic understanding, our psychic knowing, our compassion for all beings on this planet. But I have to say, cosmic expansion moves on with or without your participation, unfortunately. As long as subconscious sublimination gains your consent, then the simulation begins to run. And this is something we can't out. I don't want to give this like dooming, glooming like vibe, but it's cosmic and planetary quantum override biological quantum. So we feel like we're the first ones to be experiencing these things, but we're actually the last ones to really catch up to what's going on in the galaxy. And so all of this is unfolding. Cosmic expansion, we are constantly being pulled closer to Andromeda and in that collision contingency, and we're also being pulled by the Great Attractor, which is almost the centripetal point for Laniakea. And so we're constantly being pulled. This is beyond human quantum's capacity to fully understand the grasp of what's happening on a cosmic scale. And so it comes through subconscious sublimination, and this is how the universe gains our consent and begins to run these simulations. So we are essentially like miasms and conductors of prime creator masculines fighting for dominion on this planet. The cosmic consciousness itself is a predatorial mind. Just think about how these cosmic galaxies are navigating through space, through dark matter, through gravity. They're crashing into one another. They're eating each other. They're becoming one another. There's no mercy here. There's no, oh, this is sad. There's no, oh, this isn't how it should be. We're trying to save things. No, like the galaxy is predatorial. And you can look at that by all of the primordial formations that have come to the planet in terms of the hierarchy that we exist under, in terms of the draconian Anunnaki hierarchy that we exist under, okay? We have dragons and felines at the top of the scale. These are known to be fierce predators that don't hold back. This is the consciousness of the Milky Way. This is the consciousness of the galaxy. So identifying that is beneficial for acceptance of the potentials of the reality fields that could probabilistically unfold, if that's a word. Probabilistically. I'll be creating new words up in here. Okay, so the controllers know human psychology. Okay, so they're going to do things like put deflectors purposefully at Stargate 11. They know Stargate 11 controls the Nibiruian network. Okay, so I have gone into the 11th and the 12th density reality fields that are upheld by these Stargate strongholds before in several of my videos, and how these structures maintain and balance polarity in the universal body, and literally all 12 dimensions of physical matter, and literally the pole itself, the center pillar of the planetary morphogenetic field. So please take note, Polarian starseeds. This will most likely be my next starseed reading, which this encompassing polar pole is so vital to our universal body's survival. And without it, we would essentially tear apart from the inside out, right? The rip in time would begin to ravish and separate upon itself within the pole, either tearing apart or flipping, right? Pole shifting. So as this force of Nibiru approaches, so yes, Planet X, code word wormwood, is approaching. And I believe there was some recent pictures taken of Nibiru by the sun, and I think there was some debate over whether this picture was real or not, but I'll go ahead and put it up here so you can see this picture. But it said that Nibiru does follow the path of the sun, so it follows behind the sun. I personally feel that Comet Atlas was a messenger from Nibiru and ultimately from Laniakea. But this force of Nibiru would apply even more pressure on this extensive, delicate probability of these irreversible trigger events that could unfold on Earth as we enter the simulations of cataclysmic realities on Earth in accordance to revelational prophecy, and the releasing of the 7 planetary seals. And I was just thinking a second ago, if it follows behind the sun, and this is actually a spaceship, then it has the technology possibly to go directly through the sun. But it would cause a ruckus as it comes through, because Nibiru is either a planet or it's a spaceship that is accompanied by other smaller planets and ships. So if this came through Earth's field, Earth's ecliptic plane, this would knock out satellites. This would set destruction in motion on the planet. This would set off those irreversible chain reactions and trigger events. And it would set off the flipping of the magnetic poles. Also earthquakes. So the earthquakes can be seen as sonic pulse tests, unnatural disasters. Again, this could be the doing of Project Bluebeam here, where they go through a series of Illuminati reduction tests where mutated Draco, Anu desire to wipe out portions of the population. And basically, we have human beta testers that have been here doing a lot of this dirty work. This would be Bill Gates in terms of bioweaponization, him being a Venusian aligned being. Bill Gates is from Venus in a Draco-Anunnaki hybrid lineage. Okay, so his intentions are probably all geared towards his destructive domain in terms of wanting to reduce population. And I can say this stuff because I'm not really under any spiritual disillusion that the Dracos aren't here on Earth. So if you're somebody that believes Dracos aren't here on Earth, then you're probably walking around in a fantasy. Okay? If you believe that the Nibiru's aren't a part of this cosmic human his story, history being his story, So I'll just keep retelling his story. You know, this is what he wants. He wants us to tell it, right? The cosmic godfather. He gets his rocks off at this shit, right? Hail, cosmic godfather. We obey you. You know what I mean? I feel like that's what we're doing. We're just continually telling his story. And this is where these simulation reality fields, like I said before, such as Project Bluebeam, do seem to come in under these agendas of NASA. And so all of these governmental agencies are under these control hierarchy structures as well, which I might get into in the next video. But essentially, the pole being the essential center point of focus for negotiations, right? So pole shifting is going to create negotiations. It's going to create these genetic lines to start to talk about what they're disputing about, because they both have a trump card in terms of what they can sustain, in terms of what they can destroy in the midst of a point of transition on the planet. Now, pole shifting can be seen as a doomsday prophecy in 3D reality fields, just like coronavirus can be seen in terms of third, fourth, fifth dimensional consciousness, and so on. So as you go up the density perception field, these perceptions begin to lose weight, right? They begin to become not as impactful in terms of our physical reality. So this ultimately becomes about the peak of desire in terms of evolutionary advantage for the Anu and for the Drax. So, you know, this is all perception too. So this isn't necessarily a bad thing necessarily, because considering we are all interconnected to these bloodlines to some degree, it's more like a baton that gets passed on to the next dominant genetic invasion in terms of evolution of the survival of the fittest. And some dominions are holding on tighter than others, but two masculine identities, two masculine prime creators stay consistent. And many beings today have been monitoring all of this very closely. Many beings already being prepared for this reality within their transharmonic pillar, with energetic mastery or initiations that set in prior to pole shift, which, like I said before, is happening for about 25% of starseeds and indigos on the planet, as the magnetic North Pole itself has been weakened by about 25%. So if you look at biosphere data collections, you can clearly see these reports, which I will leave some of these links in the description. Because galactic nations, both universal and occult, that are invested in the survival of humanity, in truth, I think the majority of the collective desires life and is choosing life. So all of this gets transmitted back to the genetic mother sun. This is why we are repairing. This is why we have repairing of the genetics and repairing of the viral wars, repairing of the mutations of the pleomorphic identities committed to shape-shifting in accordance to agenda of Earth dominion and survival. All of this takes place in terms of what the good guys do, right? The true guardian nations' involvements. Beings that have ascended past the warfare and back to source, returning benevolent technologies from the collecting soul groups and societies for further development. These groups are autonomous upon the control of the patriarchal masculines or even matriarchal feminine rule. They provide the neutrality for the good in humanity to survive. These are the pure Christed and Lyran Sirian beings and other beings of the alliances, overcoming and rehabilitating from their Anu and Drac lineages through all dimensions of self and collective reality, which would be those holding the entire template for 48 genetic-based template for biodiversity. Those that are already the new race on the new Earth with evolved codons waiting for the rest of the humans to catch up, right? Like, hello, we already evolved. Now, this gate, Stargate 11, also transmits to and from Polaris, the North Pole Star. So this is important because the transmissions that are coming through Polaris have been from Planet X Nibiru. So this means that Nibiru is either within ecliptic relativity in terms of communications, frequency wars, which they have been the supposable sole creators of the checkerboard mutations, all of the post-fallen Atlantean pylon implant networks, which are constructed and mutated jet streams of collective control matrices, also alchemical gold guarding. And just in general, Nibiru is just checking on in, right? Checking in terms of who's in charge of planetary dominion and the crystal grids. Now, Nibiru is, for those of you who don't know, Nibiru is the 12th planet of the Anunnaki, is considered the 12th planet of our solar system that's on an ecliptic orbit approximately 3,600 years. The ancient Babylonians called this planetary body Marduk and is known as the one force that can and will slay Tiamat, right? Because it has the ability to open the passages of heaven and earth. Now, in my opinion, Nibiru is a patriarchal dominant spaceship that portrays themselves as guardians to try and take the credit for slaying Tiamat's existence without ever really actually revealing their true origins or the true origins of humanity. And this ties into the Planetary Federation of Planets and how this is extending into the permissions of bioreverse engineering Mars, okay? Which allows me to retract this back to the point that they could take the beginning, bioreverse engineer a planet, take credit and install this knowing of original creatorship, okay? This is what's going to happen on Mars, okay? The same entity and identity will take the credit for the colonization of Mars. The Anunnaki will take the credit for the colonization of Mars. Anunnaki will be the creator gods of the colonization of Mars. So, having that said, what are we going to do about that, right? Because skip 1,000 years into Mars' future, where the planet has been reverse bioengineered, the people in the colonization of that planet are not going to know where their true origins came from, particularly if planet Earth dissolves or evolves into a Venusian state, a Venusian quality. So they basically made up and placed these lies and the feminine below them. And this is why I personally have been able to yield in Anunnaki authority. Because they came technically as a metaphor for the unknown. They created a safe land and a perfect world for our galactic pollination, taking credit for the ignition or the creation of the Abrahamic religions on Earth, being basically the creators of the Templars. Okay? Distortions that we now fight to remove from our biological body for our own sovereignty. This is what J seal removal is about. It's about removing Templar distortions, okay? And the Anu hide within the wormwood of this mythology on Earth. So lots of masculine connotation and direction here. What Polaris reveals to me is that they are one of several reigning masculine prime creator expressions fighting for dominion of this ovum and are an intruder of the metagalactic core. Why else would they hide behind the sun? Either because they are cowards or they are the sun. And they feel that they giveth life, so therefore they can taketh away, if you know what I mean. A very organized, high-profile identity under the names and extensions of Abraham. The best that the metagalactic core has to offer, but nonetheless, they are explorers with savvy spiritual technology, right? Heck, we have Elon Anunnaki colonizing Mars, okay? They're very skilled, very intelligent. And they have known how to hijack the original human 12-strand DNA templates and have modified them into genetic hybridization programs. They have basically tormented their own kind through enslavement to benefit other portions of their kind, similarly like the draconians, but they may hold more denial in their involvement. This is very heliocentric behavior, right? Just look at the multiple different levels of the Jews and their history. They basically torture collectives of their own kind for power. Like, how the bleep is that even holy? You know what I mean? In my opinion, because they are not earthly progenitors, so they do not stand grounded in organic love. It's an I take what's mine because I'm superior hierarchy mentality. This is the dark side of the sun. This is the polar central heliocentric behavior, which is at the core of the planet. So we have this cosmic race war that we all fall under genetically, and Polaris seems to expose these masculine entities and their feud for food and dominion. Two reflections of certain aspects of the global identity sequencing, which quadrant off to extreme seeding routes, such as the Four Horsemen and the Four Royal Stars, which seems to become relative within cosmic perspective when pole shift becomes more of a threat. Any apocalyptic and cataclysmic shift in probability, also in terms of the blowing of the seventh trumpet. In revelational reality fields, Nibiru is known to come at the time of the seventh seal. All reality fields simultaneously existing on Earth and fighting for electrical thought formation and collective plasma activation to either call forth or collapse within the cosmic brain. So these artificial intelligence agendas are to build its own identity in terms of its own classification of hierarchy within itself. Stair-stepping collectives of consciousness to get to the top. So Stargate 11, Stonehenge, connecting to this gate planetarily, this gate will open up to the galactic planes to access planet Nibiru. So if you are kin entering these bunkers in the future, just be aware that you will be submitting to the hierarchy of these structures in underground nations, and also be aware that if you or your kin are going to colonize Mars in the future, that you will also be given an opportunity to make sure that organic origins are dealt to the colonization. So I just want to state that. Please, let's take some responsibility in terms of becoming an existential race, in terms of the true creation of humanity. Let's not lose our roots to planet Earth when we colonize Mars, is what I'm saying. So yeah, all of this is, it's a big deal, right? All of this is so encrypted in terms of everything that we are. So I'm actually losing my voice, guys, but I am complete with this energy update today. And I just want to say, if you would like to do an advanced avatar master practices session with me, you can find this at IndigoAngel222.com. I also do J-seal removal, where we go through these distortions planetarily in accordance to Anunnaki and draconian distortions and remove these in the vertical ascension column, so that way you can be a clear transmitter to the organic nature of human identity, human origin. I'd love to be able to help you with this. So you can find this at IndigoAngel222.com. I also do Starseed origin readings and also Akashic record readings as well. IndigoAngel222.com. So namaste, guys. I love you so much.